Good evening. I'm Ed Ryan. I'm chairman of the Tree Advisory Commission, City of Newcastle. I'd like to call to order the meeting of March 2nd, 2026. First, we're going to start with a roll call. Should be noted that Art Walker, Linda Susky, and Edward Ryan are present. Walcott Davis and Alice Reel are absent. Also in attendance, Norman Lear and Milt Draper. The record will reflect that. Now we can move to the agenda. First order of business would be approving the minutes from the February 2nd meeting of the Tree Advisory Commission. If everyone's had a chance to review that, would like to ask if there are any questions, comments, or concerns that relate to the February 2nd minutes.
I was not present, so I won't be able to vote on them, so you may not have quorum for voting on them.
That would be true. Good evening, Carl.
How you doing?
Good morning. Good evening.
Hey, man.
Carl Benson.
Good, how are you?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not either.
Mr. Benson, how timely your presence.
Yeah.
We were just reviewing the agenda item of approving the minutes.
Yeah.
And Linda was absent at that meeting, the February 2nd meeting. And two of our commission members are absent. That leaves tonight, yes. So that leaves Art and myself. So we have a question as to whether we can approve the minutes.
I don't think you can without a quorum.
You can move to
You can
table.
postpone it.
Okay. I make a motion that we postpone or table the February minutes until the April meeting of the Tree Advisory Commission.
I'll second. I'll second.
Motion seconded. You could make that part of our March minutes.
If you could call for a vote.
Oh, yes, thank you. All in favor of postponing?
Aye.
Aye. All are in favor of postponing the approval of the February minutes until April. Okay. Next item is our public comments. And Mr. Benson, do you have any comments that you would like to make from the floor?
I made I submitted an application. I don't know if it made it to tonight's packet. You did not see it?
No.
No, I'm not familiar.
Well, do I have time to let you know what it's about?
Sure.
Briefly.
I think so. In my opinion, yes.
Yeah. So the last big snowstorm we had, I have a 90-foot white pine in my backyard. It runs right along on our property line. And during the last big heavy snowstorm, we lost about 10 branches, big branches from the tree. And a number of them fell into Callahan Alley, which is the alley that runs along between our property. Linda would probably, there's many different names for that. I'm not sure which is the official name or not. Some people now call it Heidi's Alley because she planted a lot of plants in there. But so a number of tree limbs fell in there. It's actually blocking the alley. So the first thing is we would, we contacted the tree or the Public Works Department. They came out, they said they would take care of the branches. My concern is the hangers we have. There are a number of hangers in the tree that overhang the alley, which are going to be dangerous, but nobody should walk through there until that's taken care of. I called 3 tree companies, Bartlett, the Bartlett Tree Service, Stein Tree Service, and the third one was a gentleman named Rickerman. He's from Pennsylvania. I never heard back from him. Both Bartlett and Stein were about $2,000 to climb the tree, get rid of all the hangers, trim anything dangerous, and that type of, which I understand that the tree is on my property. But like I said, a number of the branches are overhanging the alley. And I thought I would ask to see if that's something the city could help financially with, since it is overhanging city property. I know it's not a quote unquote street tree, but it's it's on an alley that's city property.
On the property line, sort of. Yeah, so that's to the right of your house,
Yeah, as you face our house, it's on the right-hand side.
along the Reed House property.
Right. It's, our house and the Reed House garden wall is right there.
What did you say it might be called?
Callahan Alley, heard that?
With a C, Callahan?
Yeah. I don't know what it actually says on the old maps, but that's what somebody told us it was called, referred to it.
Oh,
I'm,
Yeah, any
Carl,
thoughts?
I'm looking, when I joined TAC, I went through the whole city code and made up a cheat sheet
Yeah.
of TAC responsibilities and city responsibilities regarding trees. And, this is mostly from section 210-9. Every property owner is responsible for maintaining trees on their property in a safe and healthy manner, and to keep trees properly trimmed and pruned so as to avoid hazards to persons' property and other vegetation. If the city finds that any tree or part thereof are in immediate danger to persons or property, the city will direct the property owner to remove the tree or the portion of thereof constituting a danger. Okay, what about, I have a section in my cheat sheet that says, what about trees on private property that hang over city sidewalks or streets? Homeowners must keep trees trimmed so no branch hangs less than 7 feet above any sidewalk. And that's section 140-15.d as in dog.
But no, so it's the homeowner's responsibility regardless that it's hanging over on city property.
That's what I gleaned from the code, and that I'm quoting it there.
I did a Google search about this, and there is a reference to the fact that is a tree. If I was your neighbor
Mhm.
and I had a tree, my white pine is overhanging, and a branch, there were branches that were overhanging your property, that if they fell onto your property, then the neighbor would be responsible for those branches. So that's what made me think, well, maybe I could get some help from the city in this situation.
And in reading that don't read into that I'm not sympathetic, but I'm just, we're constrained by what the code
I
says.
understand. That's why I wanted to come and make sure, there weren't any options with that.
So who maintains that?
The white pine,
No,
Oh.
you got that alley,
well, my wife does right now.
right? Greenhouse doesn't do anything,
No.
right?
No, she's gotten permission from them to plant the native plants. And then she also oversees the community garden behind our property. But the Bartley people, what's his name? Anyway, he came out and I thought maybe the tree needs to be removed, and he said absolutely not. It's a very healthy tree, it just needs to be cleaned up, so that's what we'll do.
Any other thoughts, alternatives, ideas? So the city came out and cleaned up what was in the
I
alley.
haven't yet, but they said.
Well, they haven't.
Well, we have either way. To be honest, I kind of like having the tree branches in the way so nobody can walk through there because it's not safe for anybody to walk
Oh, with the hangers,
In the alley with the hangers there.
Is there a fence or a wall or?
There,
The
yeah,
tree,
I have a fence on my property and the Reed House has a fence on their property. So it's probably a 8 to 10 foot space in between.
like a single
Yeah.
driveway type width?
Yeah, I mean, it was cart size. They were used for cart. The carts brought, stuff up to the Market Street through that alley, one of the alleys that they used that for. So it's cart size, I would say.
Do they anticipate it would require a climbing or a bucket or?
Yeah, they're gonna have to climb. I think they're gonna climb. They're not, I don't know if they're gonna use a bucket, but they both companies said that primarily it'd be climbing.
Any idea how many branches or how many hangers? Sorry, it's hard to estimate.
It's hard to tell, but, we think it's somewhere between, 6 and 10. Somewhere significantly.
You're not doing that kind of work anymore?
No.
Nope. I'm thinking of bow saw, an extension ladder.
White pines are fun to climb too. I used to do that. but-
There's a lot of
Yeah, it's
just horizontal branches, right? You just kind of,
no easy. Well, not easy, but easier than 18. Right, Norman?
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to ask and see, and it's, you guys can consider. I think you have the answer. That's all I really wanted to know.
I'm sympathetic, but I don't know. I don't even know as much as Linda's, so.
Oh, you gotta go with the code.
I mean, is there a power line that runs through it?
Yeah.
There isn't. I'm just looking at the wrong tree then.
Well, you got a beat on it, all right?
I'm looking at the big, large pine here next to the.
Got some.
The large, see? I think it's maybe in this town.
You got a long extension.
No, I don't think that's it.
Try
Oh, yeah.
Mitzdorfer.
It's a way in the back.
Mitzdorfer. Give them a call.
I'm just looking in the front.
Mitzdorfer, we have found them to be cheaper than Bartlett.
This alleyway is pretty small.
But that's not a current picture, right? So that doesn't necessarily show the damage.
Oh, no, that was a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Obviously trees.
So it's way in the back of the property?
It's not way in the back, but if my property, my property is not, backyard is probably 24 feet.
Can I show this to Carl?
47 East Second Street.
Oh, yeah, that's 49,
Oh,
so.
49. So it's different tree.
No, it might be, no, 'cause it's 49, so it would be.
That looks like it's right inside the wall.
Yeah, I think that would be it, yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah,
From the street side, you can't tell where.
might be it.
Picture guy.
The one in the bed, the tall one.
No, that's not it. I know
Like
that.
right inside the.
Yeah, that's
Closer to the strand, right?
yeah, that's closer to the Strand and where the Reed House, that's on the, yeah, that's not it. That's on the Strand side of the alley.
Not on your yard, in your
Yeah.
yard.
Well, I won't take any more of your time. I just thought I'd come by and say hi.
Nice to see you here. Did you talk to Rick by chance?
Rick Delgado, yeah.
Yeah.
I reached out to him the day the storm just to let him know.
About the branches.
And he sent his team out and they looked at it. And they said, yeah, they'll probably do it on Wednesday. It's been covered in snow since the storm, so just now it's starting to clear up. So we'll get it taken care of.
Okay.
Done to the Reed House.
We gotta leave.
It's no emergency.
No emergency, gotta leave.
Well, as much as I'd like to stay, I'm gonna head out, but nice to see you all.
As much as I wish there was something positive or,
It was, it was just a thought. I thought I'd check it out.
okay.
Right, have a good night.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Carl. Nice to see you. Any other public comments? Anybody have any other thoughts? Anybody feel like climbing Carl's tree? I guess we'll move on here.
Well, no, remember the grant thing, remember when the information I sent you about the grant, so we found out that the grant has a very short window to apply for. Obviously Mystic was like maybe a 2-week window. to apply for it, you have to actually tell them they have to come out and look at what you want to apply for. And then you have to come, do their research, whatever, and then they'll be able to tell you whether we can get it or not. But miss the deadline, but maybe like a few days for them to do that. So, and it's the annual things. It's only once a year, so kind of have to jump on the next year.
Yeah. So yeah, we missed the deadline on, it was somewhat late December. And then there had to be a site visit arranged prior to February 6th.
Yeah.
We talked about it on February 2nd. And so we missed the application deadline. I did read some of that material. It's a reimbursement grant. So I put a marker in the calendar for next fall to be more proactive, to beat the deadline, to make the application before the deadline. So we'll look at that in the summer and maybe get a couple people who are willing to look at the application and see if we can get some reimbursement funds. Okay, thanks for the report, Art. Let's see. So we're finished with public comments. We have no, well, that's old business. Well, while we're on the subject, on the other things that we talked about, the beautification committee thing was on the agenda for a couple months. And I sent a monthly report about our February 2nd meeting to Antonina and to Rick. One of the things I asked Antonina is if I noted at the meeting that it was her idea to put this on the agenda. And I told her that we discussed it briefly and we were unclear as to what specifically she was hoping to get from the Tree Advisory Commission. Told her that there wasn't any particular interest among the commission, but if she had more information to help us understand what her purpose was, and I didn't get a response. I also
had small issues like clearing a mountain of snow and.
yeah, she
Yeah,
did have
just
a lot to deal
Right.
with, right? So I had planned to scratch that from the agenda this month,
Mhm.
but with the snow last Monday, it got missed at the city office. So that beautification committee item number 4 was supposed to come off, and the updated tree list was supposed to be added. But because of city office closure, that didn't happen. I also told them in the monthly report what our planting plan was for spring, and said that we needed the help of Public Works to remove 6 trees on Delaware Street. And again, I've gotten a response from Public Works, but like you said, your point well made, that they've been inundated with weather issues. But I will follow up on that, the extraction of the trees from Delaware Street that were flush cut. Okay, let's see. So we had no old business, or that I think that concludes the old business. We have no old applications that were tabled. We have no new applications this month. No city tree work permit applications. So that takes us to member comments and discussion on the agenda. And we usually get, item number 1 is a budget report. We usually get some information from Alice, who's absent. But to my knowledge, last month she told us that the budget was $27,134.61. The only expenditure last month was the security charge for the meeting room here. So I assume that we can assume that another $125.36 has been deducted, probably for this meeting, for security for this meeting, which leaves the balance at, give or take $1 to $27,000. Alice pointed out last month that $10,000 was added to the budget for trees on 6th Street, potential removal
Right.
of sycamore trees. So anyway, there's a lot of money in the budget, but that'll be drawn down some after spring planting. Next week, I have to submit an annual report of the tree commission in front of the council meeting next Tuesday. So I'll be doing that. I don't think it requires any budget request. But I think we're okay with, I don't know if there are any thoughts that we haven't exactly consumed a lot of the budget, which I think is valid up until June. So I think the appropriations are fiscal years like June,
June 30th,
I guess.
somebody at the end of the fiscal year. Yeah, okay.
So that's a budget report. We also discussed watering plan a little bit last time. And I'm not sure where we ended up with that. Alice was wanted to know if you would tell us what might be available. But I came to the conclusion myself, and I by no means mean to imply that this is the answer, that we are within the number of trees that the city will water. I looked at our tree inventory, which was updated in June of 25. Ron had been keeping a spreadsheet on that. All the trees that were planted in the past 10 years that need to be watered. And I came up with 70 trees. Ron's number was about 68. And then I added about 12 trees that were planted in the fall to bring it up to about 80. And that's about what the city said they were willing or able to do. But there's one item that kind of throws the numbers off a little bit. On the first page of this summary, this spreadsheet, it says that, and that's not the first page. So, well, it says that 22 spring flurries were planted on Delaware Street between 500 and 532 Delaware Street. Well, clearly 22 trees couldn't be in that, I don't think, in that space. So I'm assuming that number is incorrect. Maybe it's just two trees, two spring flurries.
No, I think it's both sides of the street there that they're on, and I don't think it's too far off.
Okay, there could be that many, huh?
Yeah,
10 on each side, somewhere, 10, 11.
well, there's not in front of the post office, but then there's one around the corner, one around the corner.
Oh, so this would be all the way from, basically from the post office to where the old traffic light was. Okay, to see
Yes.
both sides,
Mm-hmm.
Methodist Church, Cemetery.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
No.
That could be a lot. Yeah, that could be accurate. But even so, I think we're within the number that,
I think the question came up, starting when we plant in the fall. We know what we're gonna be planting in the spring is the trees in the Reed House and the ones you have on order. This conversation started when Antonina said she didn't want the tree commission planting no more than a fairly small number of trees each year because the staff just didn't have the time to water more than about 75 trees. And if we wanted to continue with the tree commission's plan for planting trees, it would be a lot more than, and I forget the number that she said, but if we want to plant like 25, 30 trees a year, she didn't have the capacity to water that. But then there was also talk that the excess trees, the first line would be to consult with homeowners wherever the trees are planted and see if they can only do the watering, like the people on West 4th Street and other people around town like me.
Right. East 3rd,
And if that
second.
didn't work for any reason, that's when Arisafa said they could contract with commercial watering service to water the remainder of the trees. The board approved that. It's not now in the budget because we don't know. I mean, for example, if we're talking about planting fall trees, they might need to be watered just a couple of months. We have a January to December fiscal year. So if you plant trees in the fall, they might only need a couple months of watering and then it would pick up again in the spring. So we might be talking more about a watering plan for 2027. Depending on, because it's too late to plant very much more this spring, depending on what the tree commission wants to plant this fall.
Well, you could also say, for example, you have plenty of money in your budget now. You could have bought more trees if you had a backup to watering.
Right.
So-
So now, but spring is done, so,
Well, yes, but you could plant more trees in the fall
exactly,
if you have an outside watering source.
exactly.
Yes, so. I mean, to me, I think it's a good idea. You're not interfering with the city's numbers,
Right,
but you're able to plant more trees.
exactly. So it depends how many trees the tree commission wants to plant. The number of trees Antonina said, and I don't want to quote it because I don't remember the number, but it was pretty much just the number to replace trees that homeowners have requested that we remove or that we plant. It's not enough to move ahead with our plan to regreen the city.
Yeah, she really wasn't specific about how many, but there was, what she was concerned about their ability to keep up with the watering. I'd have to look back, but I don't remember. She didn't say a specific number. Yeah, and one of my biggest concerns is, again, comes down to the sidewalks, you know, who's remediating the sidewalks, who's preparing the tree pits? That's a labor intensive proposition. Walcott made the point last month that we would start to have to get into the budget, have to hire somebody to do that. I don't even know where to begin with, you know, finding who would do that. I mean, I know that there are, Gabriel, and Juan, and Elise, people that worked with Ron are skilled at it, but I don't believe that they're people who have a business contract, who have insurance, that the city would necessarily approve them as a vendor, you might say, or as a party who could do those jobs. I mean, you could walk around town and see a half a dozen spots where stumps were ground out. And that's where it sits today, you know, 6 months later is a big mound of shavings and you know, bricks sitting up against the house. And I don't know, you know, I brought that up a couple months ago in the monthly report to city administrator, as you know, who's responsible for that? And there hasn't been a discussion or an answer to, you know, so it's kind of hard to put in a tree when the pit hasn't been prepared. So I think that's another whole part of the big issue is, you know, it's pretty hard to plan to plant 15 trees until those spots are prepped for the tree. I think maybe I'm not seeing the big picture, seeing it accurately, but
So when Delaware Center for Horticulture started their tree planting program in Wilmington, they contracted J. Franklin Starr Nurseries. So we would go down prior to planting time and cut the concrete, jackhammer it out. So all you had to do was basically dig the hole.
mhm.
And then we went down and wound up planting the trees. The homeowners were supposed to do it, but that never happened. So in your situation, it would probably be, you know, if it's brick, it's it's pretty easy. You're just removing brick and stacking it. But if it's concrete, you need someone with a, you know, a concrete saw to do it.
Well, you say it's pretty easy, but it's still labor intensive.
Well, it's labor intensive,
Doesn't
but
require special equipment, but
no, and you have to make sure there's no concrete under the bricks when you start taking them up, because if it's concrete, you can't dig a hole.
you know, if Gateway comes in to plant trees that we've ordered, you know, it could pick up bricks and toss them out of the way and dig a hole. I guess you guys have done that, but I don't know if that's not really the way it should be done. That's not a fair way to,
It's,
but then, okay, even if that happens, still somebody's gotta come back following the planting and, make a tree pit.
right, and that was always wrong.
Right. And I don't think we should assume we can't assume that will continue.
Right,
Um,
and that may be where the junk from money goes.
yeah. But I'm not sure how does somebody qualify to be hired by the city to do that? I assume they need to be a licensed and,
Business license and proof of
Insured.
insurance.
And there are contractors, I had one, install a brick patio for me, and they can do, you know, brickwork and, and they also did concrete work for me too, so they were
there are
contractors.
contractors,
yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Is it, do you think it's unlikely that the city would allow Gabriel, who's kind of an independent guy? I'm sure he doesn't have,
I don't know.
I shouldn't say I'm sure. I expect he probably doesn't have a business license and it's not insured.
Yeah, I think you'd have to talk to Anthony.
Okay. So before we plant too many trees planted, I think we probably have to clarify that. To either prepare the space or the spot or to finish it.
Right, both.
Well, kind of getting off track here, I'm sure. I'm not sure where we are. So you think, whatever plan you think we need to wait until after our spring planting? Plus, we have trees that come off, right?
Right.
You know, trees come off each year. We put water for 3 years, typically, water for 3 years. So this is a list. I mean, look at all these trees that are not watered.
Right.
And then and even some of them are newer. Residents have agreed to, like you said, particularly on 4th Street. West 4th Street, a lot of newer trees, no water. There've kind of been an agreement with a lot of the homeowners that they will water those trees. You know, we put the bags on, they will water.
I think where it'll become an issue is, Norm, I remember you said that we should plan to order any trees for fall planting by roughly the 4th of July. So that means at the June meeting, at the latest, we would need to decide
How many?
and how many, and then
Which
crunch
ones?
the numbers. My memory, which may be wrong, is that the city can water, I think, up to 70 or 75 trees.
Yeah.
So if we have plans that would mean that this fall and then next year, there will be more than 75 trees that need to be watered, and homeowners, we don't have enough homeowners willing to do it. That's where our staff could step in to help water.
How do you think we would determine whether homeowners are gonna take responsibility?
How do you know now which ones are watering?
Just kind of general from the list that Ron compiled up until June. I know all the trees, a dozen trees that went in on Fourth Street, all were listed as, well, not all of them say no water, but my understanding was that he had spoken to all the people and they were willing to,
Okay, so the ones that say no water probably mean the homeowners are doing
they
that.
had agreed to,
Okay,
or they aged off. You know,
okay.
like here's a six-year-old, 4 trees on Fifth Street. In fact, right in my neighborhood, that don't need water bags anymore. They're 6 years old, so,
Okay,
um,
so just updating this list then.
I guess updating
After
the
the
list,
spring
yeah.
land plan.
I wrote a rough draft of a letter to put in the weekly. Reminding people that, you know, we would be planting trees and putting tree bags on. And last month, Norman noted that the trees that would be, should be watered, the bag should be filled twice a week or every 4 days. So put that kind
Oh,
of
that's not what
information.
Ron told me.
What did he say?
He said once a week. Unless we got a half an inch of rain and then skip that week if there was a half inch of rain.
You need more than half an inch.
Well, we just need people in agreement, so I know what to, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Well, I
So we
think
need to
one
give them
thing
some-
you have to
Sorry.
keep in consideration is just because trees have been removed from the watering list after 3 years, if you get a drought, particularly with our high summer temperatures, it only helps the trees that are already off that list if they also get watered.
We have a limit on the number of tree bags. I'm
Well,
not saying
I
we have a
know.
limit. We have about 80 of them,
Right.
80 to 100 bags.
Got a lot of money in the budget.
Yeah, that's not an issue. In maybe October, I got a little slip of paper in my mailbox because I'm one of the homeowners that waters my own tree.
That was my
folks
little slip of
planted.
paper.
Was that from you? Okay,
Keep watering until,
yeah, so it sounds like maybe once a year, drop off a little slip like that
Mhm.
in the spring,
Reminders.
reminding people how to water.
yeah, I thought we should put something in the spring. Just prior to the bags going back on the trees,
Right.
giving some, you know, good, why trees are so good and how they can support the effort to, you know, to establish the city canopy and, with the guidelines of, you know, water every 4 or 5 days.
Right, because you're in a hostile environment. You know, and that's why, all right, so at Gateway, our recommendations are an inch of water rain. You don't have to water that week.
How do you measure that? I mean, how would the public measure?
Rain gauge.
Mhm. I can, or.
Or, yeah, you get a 5-gallon bucket. You know,
Yeah, or it's gonna catch a little bigger target.
right.
A plastic kitchen storage box, provided it doesn't blow away. But you're saying water twice a week.
Well, how much of the,
I think they're supposed to hold 20 gallons,
yeah,
Ron said.
I mean, in July and August, I'd definitely say water twice a week,
Okay.
you know.
I'm writing this down for myself. I'll put it on the calendar.
Yeah, the guidelines have to be sort of general,
Yeah, there's a little flexibility in it,
Yeah.
but, you know,
but given the past several years, I mean, it's gonna be hot, right?
Mhm.
Can
Right.
anticipate-
and we always get 6 or 8 weeks without any rain.
Yeah.
And it varies. Sometimes it starts in May. Sometimes it's September, you know, it's dry.
Is it sort of safe to say, keep the bag filled?
No.
No? No.
It drains out pretty quickly. It doesn't just sit there and take several days.
Right.
The idea is that correct me if I'm wrong, but I
No,
noticed that
It's supposed to.
yeah.
It's supposed to, take a few days to
No,
drain
it's
out?
supposed to drain out
Pretty quick.
rather. I don't know. 4 hours to drain, maybe?
It's just supposed to drain slowly enough that the water doesn't.
There's
run.
no runoff, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any suggestions for, I mean, I can write the letter, take a picture of one of the trees with a bag on it. I just wanna, be consistent with what we're talking about as far as, what to put in.
If you wanna send the draft to me, I'll be happy to take a look at it.
Okay.
Work it out.
Sure, that'd be great. When should the bags go back on, do you think, Norman? I took them all off, cleaned them up, took them to Public Works, but, and
I was
they're
wondering
even,
what happened to mine.
they're even easier to put back on because they're ready to roll,
Right.
they're cleaned up.
I would say by May 1st at the latest.
Even if anywhere from mid-April on, we could
Yeah,
start putting them on.
yes.
Okay. Thanks. So, 4:15 to 5:1
Mm-hmm.
in there would be, time to put the bags on. And start with the youngest trees, use all of them up. Can work, check on the list. Okay, that sounds like a watering plan. Should we move on?
Okay.
Okay, moving along. Next order of business is a planting plan, which we sort of talked about. And I'll just say what I've got, please, questions, comments, other ideas. In the monthly report to, last month to Antonina and Rick, I said that we were, along with needing those trees taken off of Delaware Street, we're hoping to plant 14 trees, 6 that we ordered from Gateway, and 8 that we think we can expect from the Reed House Garden. That's the number that, Ron shared. There might be more, but again, I have to kind of wait and see how they leaf out or whatever, but out. But the idea was to take out 6, on Delaware Street and replace it with 4. So we're gonna not put the ones closest to the stop signs.
Right.
That's what we talked about. So we ordered 2 Metro Golds, 3 Copper Rockets, and 1 Persian Spire, 6 trees from Gateway that I just mentioned. The 2 Metro Golds were for 6th Street near the bus. Those have been taken out. Those have been dug out. And then putting 4 trees back where the 6 came out. The Persian Spire, I think, was supposed to go up around 4th
Yes.
in Delaware, and 1 of the Copper Rockets. And then the other 2 Copper Rockets down near 5th, across from the post office. To replace two of the 3 that are coming out.
That I'm not sure, because it sometimes changes frequently, but I thought there was 4 ammo anchors on between 5th and 6th to remove. The 3 Copper Rockets were going in there. Then down in the next block, 2 were damaged. Only 1's going to be replaced. We were moving further away from the stop signs.
Right.
Right.
I thought there were 3 damaged at each. 3 between 4th and 5th, and 3 between 5th and 6th.
It could be, but then I would wonder. I wouldn't have thought, I would have thought if he was it was being counted that way, there'd be Persian spires, 2 Persian spires to go in there rather than 1 Persian spire and a Copper Rock.
I think we only ordered 1. With you folks.
But I don't think he would add a different species in that stretch. But it's the right number of trees that are coming in. It's just a matter, we just have to check which ones.
I assume those are both on the updated tree list.
I'm looking now at the minutes from, the October meeting. And at that point, Ed, it says that you said that 16 trees were moved from Penn Farm to the Reed House and are waiting to be planted,
Mhm.
including 5 cherry trees, doesn't say what variety, 5 Mesa Gold, and 2 red buds, including the little tiny one for Arbor Day that's not a street tree. And then Norm, it also says the trees for fall 2026 and spring 2027 need to be ordered by roughly July 4th.
Yes.
Okay, so that, that's a lot of trees we need to plan to order.
Well, a lot of trees
Well,
to plant.
2 seasons worth of planting.
I see.
yeah,
That list of, when I went to the Reed House with Ron, I wrote down, we went down the line, 17 trees,
okay,
16 or 17. But then when we started talking about spring planting, he said, probably better figure on maybe 8 of them being usable.
mhm,
And those were the Mesa Glow, like 4 of those, a Perodia that was to replace a tree on Harmony Street. Anyway, I don't know how many we're gonna get out of the Reed House garden, but
No, we won't know until they start to leaf out.
so anyway, we had the 6 trees on Delaware Street. I'm sorry, 4 trees on Delaware Street, 2 on 6th Street, near the bus stop. That's the 6 trees that were ordered. And then, hopefully about 8 more from the Reed House garden. We talked that there were 2 places that have tree pits ready. One's on the Strand, 55 the Strand, and 23 West Third, Comox residence. That pit's pretty cleaned up. That's about it from the trees that were removed. You know, unless there's some way to get the pits ready. And then we talked about putting these Mesa Glows on 5th Street near Shaw Alley,
mhm,
between Shaw and Foundry,
mhm.
at number 29, 31, 37, 39, and 41. That's 5 addresses. Assuming that those trees are viable. That's what I've got as far as planning plan. So I guess we should check to see if all those trees are on the updated tree list. Do we have to vote on accepting the updated tree list? Is that something we should do?
Well, I think changes to it and, Norm and especially Ron were suggesting that some trees be added and subtracted from the tree list, so, if the tree list changes,
For example, the dogwood,
right,
you noted that it should be considered being removed from the list.
yes.
So,
And, there are actually 2 varieties of dogwood, the Dixie Colonnade and the Cherokee Princess. They're really disease prone, they're really not good street side trees. Then, Ron also suggested removing the European hornbeam. Cause again, part of it is we're learning that what works in Newcastle, you know. We got, you know, sort of a standard list of street trees and worked with that initially, but now we're finding what works in our particular environment. The Persian ironwood that was on the list was Vanessa. There are 2 other varieties that have been planted, the Ruby Vase and the Persian Spire. So, I'm sorry, Persian Spire hasn't been planted. but I think one has been ordered, is on that list. So add those two varieties to the list. Then, there was one other one. Oh, big controversy. The Amalancher, which is also known as the serviceberry, and we've called it the spring flurry. Norm suggested removing it from the list because it has low ground clearance, and wide branches. Ron suggested keeping it on the list, but just noting that the locations where it may be appropriate, maybe a bit limited. So, and he also added at the very end, there have been some Japanese snowbells or styracs that have been planted in the library parking lot.
Right.
He wasn't prepared to add it to the list, as they may be too big.
Wait and see what they,
See how they do there before, but I put that at the end, calling it an experiment, not yet ready to recommend. I should also note more generally with the list, at the January meeting was when I offered to refresh it, thinking in preparation for getting any trees that we want to order, or even deciding of the trees that are, for instance, in the Reed House, what would be the best locations for them. And when I was applied to have a replacement tree in front of my house, I didn't know how this worked, so I did my own due diligence and research, like what trees were short enough to put under power wires, which ones would work in part shade, because that's what I had in front of my house. And I thought it would just be really nice to have that kind of information available for everybody, the tree commission and the public, instead of digging into websites every time you want to figure out where a tree goes.
Yeah.
And I did talk with both Norm and Ron, learned a lot. The Master Gardeners have asked me to do a presentation for them on street side trees, because I'm learning so much about it. And I have to pick Norm's brains because they're gonna have questions I can't answer. I also added photos because I thought that would also help the decision process. And I pasted in stock photos now because all the trees are bare, but maybe this spring or summer or fall, take pictures of some of these trees that have been planted around Newcastle. So, and I did add notes on not every place where a tree is planted, but where you could see examples of those that have been planted around Newcastle. So if somebody wanted to look directly.
a terrific document.
It reminded me that what we're doing is going to be always a work in progress, because a tree that's really trendy as a street side tree somewhere else may not work here. We may try a new variety like Ron and Norm have and find out, even though it wasn't on the list, it's working pretty well. So I think it's a good idea that every couple of years, take a look at this list and update it, mostly with notes on what our own experience has been with these trees.
Great idea.
So,
Well, that should be the new practice for sure.
okay.
Going
Problems
forward,
are
going
a
forward.
couple years from now. Anything you want to add? Cause you helped give me some advice on the serviceberry. You saw a draft of the list with more information.
No, I think the selection depends like how wide the sidewalk is in the
Yes.
street.
Yes.
And I think even though the homeowner might pick a tree, it might not be the right one.
And I agree with you. And I just, again, I didn't know how the tree commission worked. I thought I needed to come in with some suggestions, but I was researching, including that. I'm thinking more now that when TAC members, think about, like where you're gonna plant the trees that are now in the Reed House, considering what they'll look like when they're mature, could inform your decision about which trees go where.
Right. Yeah, so I think it's great if the homeowner gets to choose, but
Yeah.
the tree commission has to have the final say
Right.
whether their selection works.
Mhm.
And also it's it's kind of nice that you have some uniformity, like between Fifth and Sixth, it is all Amalankers. Alice's Street, her side is all cherries. You don't want, I don't know how many trees are on the list, but you don't want 12 different trees in the same block. You know, 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind is one thing, but 12 different ones.
That's why it's probably not very practical to have homeowners picking.
Right, and I'm not suggesting that, but at least, you know, if they find out that TAC has decided to plant this tree there, they can, you know, learn about what it looks
See
like.
what's the
Right.
description.
That may be a better contact. And Ron asked me to remind TAC that, and I didn't confirm this, but he said a few years ago, TAC passed a motion that where possible, there would be clusters of maybe 5 or 6 of the same kind of tree. He feels very strongly about that.
Yeah, and that supports what Norm's saying. That's best practice
you know.
Right.
is,
Now, I know
Consistency.
sometimes the two sides of the street, if one faces north and one faces south, you can't always plant the same variety on both sides of the street. Depending on sun versus
But
shade.
if you're taking the dogwoods off, they're the ones that our summers are too hot for them.
You know,
So like on the Strand, they're on the shady side and they're doing fine. They wouldn't be doing as well if they were across the street on the other side.
do you think they should stay on the list or be removed? Ron recommended removing them, mostly because they're disease prone.
Well, you could select you could have dogwoods on there. I would just say you do the Rutgers hybrids that are immune to the diseases that the natives are susceptible to.
Okay,
But dogwoods, now Dixie colonnade is supposed to be more columnar, not get as wide, but
mhm,
dogwoods, you know, they're in the category of up to 25 feet wide. So not many locations could take them. You know, up at the apartment buildings, they would have worked there. But there's not many spots in the city that has the space for them.
you know, one's noted as 20 feet, up to 20 feet wide. The Cherokee Princess.
right,
But
That's
in the Rutgers hybrids, there's ones that are columnar.
what a Dixie colonnade says. Well, you said a pyramid, but width of 8 feet. The picture looks like a column.
yeah, the shape I took, since we
It's a young
work
tree.
with JF Schmidt, I took the shape information from JF Schmidt, but then when I looked at pictures, the pictures didn't always match the JF Schmidt shape, and
So before,
we'll learn.
yeah, before we order trees in July, we need to know specific locations. Right?
Right,
So then we're ordering trees that are appropriate for
Right.
the
right,
and
and that's where I thought this would be
yeah,
helpful.
terrific.
But you're on, in the 5-year plan, you're on the west side now,
Right,
and most of those streets are
Pretty narrow
pretty
sidewalk.
narrow.
mhm,
Yeah. Although Ron said he thought that that we'd get a good group of Mesa Glow from the Reed House Garden. And that they would go with, they would be a good tree for, would be past the library. Going towards South Street. Shaw Alley, Foundry in that section. There's a tree in there right now. Number 35, it's a Metro Gold. said the Mesa Glows were compatible with the Metro Gold.
Mhm.
And and there's supposed to be 5 or 6 of those maybe at Reed House Garden. So that's all west side. That would be west side. Anyway. Any other comments? Thoughts about this? I was talking to Norman a little bit earlier before the meeting about, process for planting in the spring.
Mhm.
And he's thinking that somewhere after April 1st, that the trees should come in from Oregon to Gateway. And so the plan is to try to get those trees off of Fifth Street by then,
Mhm.
preferably by April 1st. And I don't know if we'll be able to assess the Reed House Garden trees by then. Any thoughts on that, Norman? Depends on the weather a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to get warm,
Big warm coming up.
but then it's supposed to cool back down. So, yeah, that's why I don't know that we'll be able to plant all in the same day.
Right.
It might be,
Let me ask a question about this document, because right now on the city website, there's the old tree list posted there. So I don't know what the tree commission wants to do about
Replace.
finalizing this document and then asking the city to replace that document with this one.
Should we wait till the next meeting till we have a quorum?
Okay, that's good.
So that would be on the agenda for April,
Mhm.
is approval of the updated tree list.
Right.
Not seeing anything else here that we haven't addressed. Anybody else have any ideas, comments? Anything we want to talk about? No? Then I guess we'll bring it to a close.
you might,
Thank you.
in your spare time, look into getting a price for creating a tree pit. Maybe like, I don't know, Antonio would come to mind, or just so we have a kind of a rough idea.
And Linda said she said you knew people who do brickwork,
Yes,
patio sidewalks.
yeah. Yeah, basically looking for a masonry company.
And get an estimates.
Because even with the brick, you can use a concrete saw to cut that, and then you don't have to go back and, you know,
Mhm.
Something a contractor would have,
yeah.
the ability to cut the bricks.
Mhm. So, I mean, they should be able to do whether it's concrete or brick.
I guess the big question is, can we spend our budget money on that? Requires approval.
It's part of planning. I would think it would.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I make a motion that, or would somebody care to make a motion to adjourn?
Mhm.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.